I am doing a preemptive starter swap on this car. The original starter is working fine, but last time I went to the Hill Country Rally, I had a starter failure with heat soak. And I'm taking this car this year to the rally, and it's in Texas, a lot of driving. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in. I replaced this guy in my Carrera, and it was a pain. This car is a 915 transmission. It should be a lot easier. Remember on the Carrera, it was a partial engine drop. This should be, as simple as a couple bolts and some wiring and put that in. This guy is from IMI. I bought two of these. One went in the Carrera. This one's now gonna go in this car. And this is essentially a Denso starter that the guys at IMI do some special machining. I think they replace the gear. So it makes this reliable starter from Denso work on old Porsches. And it's a lot lighter, it's got higher torque, it doesn't take as much power, and it's overall just a better solution. And I thought what I would do is I have a new clamp meter and I want to test the current draw on the stock starter before I take it out. And then I'll compare it with the current draw on this motor just for comparison. And also for benchmarking. So every couple years, it's not a bad idea to go back and kind of measure the current draw of your starter. That way there you know if it's starting to get weak or if it's pulling more power, or if there's a wiring problem. It might show up in those numbers. And so you can preemptively do repairs as opposed to getting stuck on the side of the road. Last year, there was plenty of guys to help get me push started. It wasn't that big of a deal, but you don't want to break down if you don't have to. So let's get this put in. And this is the new meter that I'm using. It's a clamp meter. It's gonna go right on the cable that goes to the starter. It also has a feature of a histogram or like a little running data logger here. So not only is it gonna tell me the max amps, but it's also gonna tell me kind of the shape of those amps and how it goes at inrush current and then stable current. So this is the starter cable right here. So I'm just gonna let it kind of hang right there. That's the starter cable. It's going right to the starter. And then this guy is just gonna hang on here. It also has a flashlight function. There's a black screen and a white screen. So we'll just leave it there, go ahead and start it and see what we get. What I saw was a minimum of 95 amps and a max of 25 amps. Now I think if you attach it to the cable this way or this way, that changes whether it's positive or negative amps. So I'm gonna do it again and I'm gonna switch it this way and see if I get positive numbers. So I hit hold on that one. So this time I'm getting a max of 132.8 amps and a min of 26.7. So the initial current is very high as it jumps up when it starts. And then this could be some alternator charging current, which is negative, which would mean there's power going the other way. Or it might just be the way the battery and starter oscillate. I'm not 100% sure, I'm not an electrician. I know that this is the DC amps and we're getting, a max of 133. So I'm just gonna do this a few more times and just take an average. I think the first time I had 95, even though the meter was flipped. Okay, that time was 151 amps and a minimum of 27. So the minimum seems pretty stable. The max is fluctuating. Every time you start it, it has a cold start procedure. So it might be running a little more fuel in it and it's just changing the way it starts. But I want to get 3 results, so we'll use those 3. Those are my results for the original starter. 95, 138, 151. All right, battery's been disconnected, so let's go up with the car and take the starter out. Here's one of the nuts right here. Sometimes it's a barrel nut. This is easy to get to. The back of the starter is pretty easy to get to, all this wiring here. The tough one is there's a stud and a nut just opposite this one. So you have to reach up and grab it, but it's not super difficult. I'm gonna put the camera down and remove this, and then we'll talk about how to get the new one to fit. It wasn't too difficult to get this one out. Much easier than the Carrera G50 car. It was really just getting this top bolt out that was just a little bit of a challenge, but it's out now. And the differences in the starters are pretty significant. The motor here is in line with the pinion gear. And in this case, this is the motor, this is the solenoid, I think. They're offset, so there's a gear reduction between these two shafts. So the way it positions in the car is a little different. Now, IMI gives you the ability to rotate this in different positions. So it could go in 4 different holes to make it fit your car the best. I'm going to play around and see what wiring works best. So the big lug is here on the side, and then this connection is what was a ring terminal was here. Now it's a slip-on terminal. So I will figure that out. Maybe either make an adapter or just cut the wire and put a new end on it. I kind of prefer the ring terminal because they're more secure, but we'll figure something out. There's only 2 connections here for the starter. Also, on my car, I have the fuel injection system is driven from the starter wire. So I need to make sure this stud is long enough. This is what that upper barrel nut looks like. You just need to have a wrench that doesn't interfere with this right here. That's where it gets a little tight. These are both 9-teeth gears, and the diameters are, pretty much the same. So there's no mismatch with the gearing, and the amount that the gear protrudes is equal. So this is the right starter. So the starter is just positioned in here, and what I'm seeing right out of the gate is that this part of the starter is interfering with these heat exchangers. So I think I need to rotate it so that the motor clears the tubing. Normally there's a tubing here that goes into that part of the car. I don't have mine connected yet, but I'm going to be connecting it here very shortly. So I need to rotate those adjustable mounts to reposition or reclock the starter so it clears this heat exchanger. This is how the heat gets into the car. So I'm going to move it 2 holes and see what happens. We'll just put these in real loose just to identify its best mounting position. And I'm going to use a Sharpie. This is the first position right here. I'm going to mark those, and this will be number 2. Back to the car and see how we did. Okay, it's much improved now with clearance to this hose, because this hose is going to go in this direction. So it's not going to hit the starter at all, and it'll keep some of the heat off of that motor. The other nice thing is the terminals are a little bit more accessible. They're still on the back side of that solenoid, but at least I can swing a wrench around up in that area. So I think this is what I'm going to do in terms of positioning. I'm going to lock it in right here. There is one more hole, but if I do that, it's going to start running into the cross member. I can barely get my fingers in this area right here. If I do one more hole, it may contact the cross member. And this engine's on floating mounts, so you need to have some clearance on there. Otherwise, it can make contact and cause a bunch of noise. Going blue Loctite. And pretty snug on these. So a little word of caution about these barrel nuts. So the IMI starter has a thinner flange here. So what happens, the stud that's part of the transmission, is pretty long. So it sticks out about that far. So what happens when this nut gets threaded on, the stud goes into the pocket where the Allen wrench fits. So at some point, especially with these ball types, you're going to lose torque and you're just not going to be able to tighten it because the wrench now slips off. So the only alternative is to either put a bunch of spacers on the back. You would have to have several washers in order to create some clamp load on this. Otherwise, your wrench is just never going to work. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a traditional nut because the new starter has a lot better access. I can still get a socket on this. There's plenty of clearance. It's a little hard to get a socket on this one, but the new starter is so much easier. So I think it makes sense, instead of using a bunch of spacers or washers, just to use a traditional M10 nut. I was able to get all my power leads attached to the starter. I used a short jam nut to crimp it all down. There's, I think, 4 wires that attach to this. That's a little more than usual. So I was able to get the jam nut on there, but I'm going to add this on top of the exposed threads and the nut itself. This is thread locker green, and this will wick into the nut area and also coat the exposed threads so that that nut does not come loose. That's the power to, like I said, the fuel injectors and the coil on plug, the ignition system. So that wire cannot come off or I will be dead on the road. I'm also going to use this tie wrap, this heavy tie wrap, to bunch those heavy gauge wires together so they can't vibrate and undo that nut. We want everything to be constrained and really tidy right there. Okay, so that's the final install on the starter. Used 2 of the M10 nuts there. Ended up changing the terminal on the yellow and red wire. That one actually pushes straight on there. It's a pretty secure connection, plus I zip tied everything. All this is bundled together for anti-rotation. And then inside here is a hard start relay. That's wired right to the ignition switch. So none of the current goes to the ignition switch. This is an ignition switch saver, and it also gets full voltage to the starter. So it should start right up. Let's lower it down and see how it runs. All right, battery's connected. I'm gonna put the meter on and get our first result. It's fuel pump. Definitely sounds different. That's interesting. It's a little bit more than I expected. Max current is 166. Okay, test number 2. Looks like 157 again. It's very consistent. Okay, I've done several with the new starter and the results are like pretty consistent. 168.6, 157.0, 157.4. I repeated it a couple times and got in the 150 range. The current seems to be stable, whether it's warm or cold. The OEM starter fluctuated a little bit more. And I think part of it has to do with the amount of fuel that the computer's putting in the engine. Each time you start it, it runs through a pre-injection process. So it does seem to help when you let the engine run, kind of burn off some of that fuel. Typically it only puts in what it needs, but I can tell like the engine was struggling to start a few times. I've never really turned it on and off like that before. So it's a good test of the programming too on the ECU. But in general, it sounds nice. It's a little bit like a quieter sound, and it's hopefully more reliable. And the meter worked great. I'll put a link in the description below. This is something that is useful for not only the starter, but like the fuel pump, the current draw, the fuel pump. If it starts to, bearings start to go bad or the armatures start to lose continuity, the current can go up or down. So you just want to have like a nice baseline, so you can make decisions about, yeah, this is probably failing, I should replace it, or maybe something else is happening in the engine that's causing it to start slower. So it's just good data to have, and the meter works great. I like having the max feature and like the histogram of where the voltage was or where the current was, because you can kind of see where the current hits and how high it is. The battery is a small battery for this car. It's that Odyssey, very small, compact, lightweight battery. I know the current on that battery is like 400 amps, so we're not anywhere near the limit of the battery, and it starts just fine. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Hopefully we don't have a starter failure on the rally, and a couple more things to button up between now and then, but yeah, there'll be all videos on Mac until the rally. So wish me luck, and hope to see you there. It also has typical voltmeter, inputs too. You can measure voltage and current. So it's a nice unit. Rechargeable battery with USB. Just plug in USB-C and it charges it up. The position of this blue button is kind of awkward because sometimes when you go to pinch this, you end up pushing this. And if you're trying to use the hold feature, you got to hold that down. If you accidentally hit this, it turns the hold off. So I had to struggle with that a few times, but I really do like the functionality of it, and it's easy to use and really great tool.